Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. I definitely I got a little bit more love just now. I think they loving the music tonight, and I feel pretty good about it. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. I want to take this opportunity to kind of transition and talk a little bit about the death of Hadia Pendleton, which was the young woman, and we alluded to it briefly in the past, but we didn't get a real opportunity to kind of talk about it that much last week. But the reason why it comes back up right now, and again, we're going to talk about it briefly. The reason why it comes back up is because the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, attended her funeral, and that action was met with a little bit of opposition by a lot of her critics, most notably former Tea Party Congressman Joe Walsh, who took to his Twitter account and criticized the First Lady for attending. And, you know, I'm on record as saying that I felt like the president should address the violence that goes on in his hometown. The fact that this young lady had just been in D.C. celebrating the president's inauguration and then goes home and a week later is murdered in his hometown, that was something that basically strengthened my position with regards to the president acknowledging it. And there were a lot of people, most notably Minister Louis Farrakhan, who had come out and agree with my position on the subject. And I've got a lot of opposition from folks who disagree with me. Most notably, Mrs. J disagrees with me, and so does Carlton Banks disagrees with me with regards to the president having to address the violence that was so evident in his hometown. I think this particular situation kind of elevated to the national level beyond some of the more faceless, unfortunately, and I don't say that in a disrespectful way, I say that in a real talk way, and some of the more faceless murders in that town. This young lady had just spent a few days celebrating the president, and the First Lady goes and basically represents him at her funeral. So Carlton Banks, I'll ask you first, and we'll go around the room before we wrap up the show. Do you think that it was appropriate for the First Lady to attend this funeral? Why or why not?
I look at it like this. Anybody can attend a funeral. If you wanted to go, Marcus, because of your belief that the president should be there and you want to give the support to the family, you know, go ahead and be there. I don't have a problem with that. I think what it was, I'll say it and be mad at me if you want. It's in poor taste of a political movement that she did go. I'm not so much saying I wouldn't want her to go. It's just that it's in poor taste, because how many other people went to see the president get inaugurated so many years ago? Okay, how many went to see him this year? How many of those people have died since that time? You know, are we going to make a big deal about their deaths as well? Some of those people could have died from AIDS. Some of those people could have died in a car accident, drunk driver. Okay, so what? I mean, you know, I had that cold point of view on it because of the simple fact death and murder happens every day. I'm happy she went. Yes. Should she have gone, in my opinion? No. Because, again, it's in poor taste. It's a political move. And that's basically what a lot of people wanted to see. You know, how many times did Minister Louis Farrakhan show up at a Muslim funeral of somebody that got shot? Did he go? Did he protest? I mean, who else is out there?
Well, let's stop you and kind of have some exchange. I can't speak to the minister because I don't know. My guess is probably because my studies of him is that he's a man of what he says. I have issues with where he was in February of 1965, but I digress on that. If you're a listener to the show and you know how I feel about Malcolm X, you know where I'm going with that. But as far as the First Lady attending this funeral and it being in poor taste, I vehemently disagree with you on that, and here's why. When you make reference to other folks dying that may have been at the inauguration for the president, those people weren't 15-year-old girls who came from 1 mile from his neighborhood, who specifically traveled to celebrate him and then get gunned down in a gun violence murder in his town a week later. I understand your position about not wanting to politicize these things, but I think we're being disingenuous if we don't acknowledge the fact that this president right now is at the center front of this gun discussion. And the fact that he's at the center of this gun discussion, particularly on the heels of what happened at Sandy in Connecticut. I'm sorry, to Sandy Hook, or I'm not sure. Sandy Hook. The fact that happened elevates him to the forefront of this gun violence discussion. And we know that not only did he have words for that, he actually went there and talked to those people. The fact that these people are dying in his hometown, and this young girl who represented his hometown and came to see him, and the fact that she was murdered in his town with a gun, I don't understand why you don't see why there is absolutely an appropriateness for, if not him showing up, that he sends, if not his wife or someone that's directly attached to him, first lady, vice president, someone should have been there. And the fact that she was there, I have no problem with it. Jesse Jackson was there, the mayor was there, the governor was there, the first lady was there. I don't understand what the problem is. They are representing the community to show the outrage that everybody is feeling. Now, I brought this up because I wanted you and I to get into the discussion on the air that we've had online and that we've had off the air in the past. And I just want to make this point because I'm not sure that you understand what my position is. I'm going to make my point. I'll have you make yours. We'll give Ruben and Tony their chance, and then we'll move on. But here's my thing. It doesn't have to be President Barack Hussein Obama going to Chicago and standing on a street corner or a pulpit and saying, stop shooting. That's what I'd like to see, but it doesn't have to be that. I think the fact that he's the president of the United States in a town that he comes from where gun violence is so bad, he needs to address urban violence on some level. The fact that he is only speaking on gun violence when it affects suburban white people.
It's not suburban white people.
Let me finish my point, and I'll give you a chance to make yours. The fact that he's only speaking when it's suburban white people, that pisses off a lot of people. Sandy Hook, white folk. Aurora, Colorado, white folk. The people that got shot in Phoenix when the congresswoman got shot, white folk. The Sikh temple, okay, that wasn't white folk, but the point is, all of these incidences, even if it ain't white folk, it's still suburbia. And it's a lot of people in the inner cities that are affected by gun violence, just like these people are, even more so. And they don't feel like the president who they supported is paying attention to them. That's what my point is. He ain't got to go to Chicago, but he needs to address urban gun violence on some level. And if he doesn't do that at some point, before the end of 2013, I'm going to continue to have a problem with him and his overall legacy. That's my point.
Number one, Aurora, Colorado did not just have white people in the movie theater. He could have had anything in there, a Rainbow Coalition to be in there. Number two, just you're blaming urban environments. You said that Jesse was there. You said the governor was there. The mayor was there. President, First Lady was there. Okay, have any of them been back? Have any of them been back? Where's the governor now?
It was 2 days ago.
Okay, but have they been back? Okay, where were they to begin with? Why didn't they do something before now? You know, the onus is on the president to govern the entire United States of America. To put him in control of one sect of population in one area, that's crazy. He can't do that. He's not supposed to do that. That governing body that governs Chicago, Illinois, should be handling that. Okay, and if that doesn't work, then you go to the governor. If that doesn't work, then you go to the president. You're making it go from jump levels that should have been handled at the urban area, i.e. the person who elected the mayor, i.e. the persons who elected the governor, i.e. the persons who elected the president. Okay, you can't skip levels. In my former employment, I handle customer complaints. Customers complain to the president of my company. You know what? He sent it to his vice president. You know what? He sent it to one of his direct reports. You know what? He sent it to one of his direct reports. He sent it to another direct report. He sent it back to another direct report. You know who ended up getting it? Me. I'm the first line of defense. I'm on the bottom. I'm the one who answers to that person, not the president of the company. Guess who signs that paper though afterwards? The president of the company. But guess who did all the legwork? That's what that people is. Those are the people in Chicago are supposed to be doing. It's the churches that are supposed to be doing it. It's the civic leaders that are supposed to be doing it. Not the president of my United States of America. I didn't vote for him to be worried about what Chicago as an individual.
I got you. And while you make a valid point, my response to it is twofold. One, if that was happening, then we would be seeing a change to the murder rate like we saw in the change in the murder rate here in Richmond, Virginia, and also in New York City.
But what was that? But what was the controlling factor there?
But the fact of the matter is, but the fact of the matter is, while I understand your point about having the locals handle it, obviously the locals aren't having it. But the thing is, I think you're misunderstanding what my point is because you've never addressed it when we were talking before and when we're talking now.
Oh, I've addressed it.
You haven't. The fact of the matter is, we're not just talking about Chicago. When I first started talking about this, I was focused on Chicago. Right. But my position on it has evolved, and I've made that clear to you on more than one occasion. It's not just about Chicago. He can use Chicago as his springboard because that's where he's from, but this is a national epidemic where people on the ground need to see that their president, not just their president who's involved with the taxes, who's involved with what's going on in foreign countries, but what's going on Martin Luther King Drive and Pick Your City, USA. It's important that these kids don't feel as though that they're not being represented. Your president will show up in Sandy Hook and hug the grandmother of a slain child in a classroom in the suburbs, which I feel is appropriate. But that same president has no words for a child in the inner city who's slain just as bad. Now, we also talked about what makes a mass shooting. Okay, is it one person? Is it two people? Is it 20 people? How many people make a mass shooting? You had 26 in Sandy Hook. Well, you know what? If we go back and we look over Chicago, I can find you multiple weekends where 50 people got shot. And we did the ratio of that. So, but we did the ratio on your page. Hold on. But the thing is, to me, the ratio to per capita, none of that matters when you're talking about overall the epidemic. We're not talking about has to be solved at the city level. Yeah, but obviously that's not happening. Then you bring in the state level. You don't make it a federal case before it leaves the state. But I don't understand why it's such a problem for the president to make a statement, to appeal. He made the statement. What statement did he make? You saw it. I put it on your page. You put on my page where he had a conversation with an urban interviewer during the election cycle. Well, I gave you props for that when I read it. But when I went and I looked at it closer, he gave a statement to an urban radio station that nobody heard during the election cycle. It was in, we won't say the 3-letter network, but that's where that interview was from. During the election cycle. During the election cycle. Okay. Hey, what's the best way of reaching the youth? You reach them through music, right? I'm not at an age that watches that channel. All right, I may watch it for certain shows, but I'm not at the age that's going to watch that channel religiously. I understand. The youth of this country watch that 3-letter network. Okay. So if they saw it, they saw it. But the older generation is not going to watch that channel. I just happened to find that information. All right. Well, let me ask you. What do we do here? Let me ask you a simple question then. Let's break this down. And obviously, we're going over about 4 minutes after 9 p.m. And this is important. We're gonna stay with it. We still got our rants. We still got our closings. We're gonna take a few more minutes to get into this because this is important. This is a conversation that Carlton and I have been having offline for a long time, and I think it's productive because we're on opposite ends of this spectrum and we're never going to agree, but I think the fact that we're discussing it is productive. So let me ask you this, Carlton. Do you have a problem with the president going to Sandy Hook and Aurora and to Phoenix and to Michigan or Wisconsin or wherever that Sikh temple? Do you have a problem with him going to the places where I guess mass shootings, for lack of a better term, happen? You have a problem with that? I do not have a problem with that. So you don't have a problem with him going to Sandy Hook where 26 people got shot at one time? 26 or 20 babies and 6 adults got killed in Sandy Hook. You don't have a problem with a bunch of people in Aurora, Colorado, but you do have a problem if he addresses the inner city, whether it be Chicago, Little Rock, Arkansas, Richmond, Virginia, St. Louis, Jersey City, Atlanta. You got a problem with him
My problem is
addressing
with individual shootings.
Well, it's
That's
not,
what it was. Well, that's what it's with. Individual shooting. Did he go and speak to the Trayvon Martin situation?
He was asked a question and he addressed it. But see, here's the thing: individuals, when they become cumulative, are no longer individuals. So when you have an epidemic in an area, it's no longer about an individual shooting. It's about a culture, and it's a culture that the president of the United States, I feel, should address, especially when one of the most revered presidents we've had in the last 50 years, Ronald Reagan, he was the one who made it his business to get into the drug trade when it was where? The inner city. To the point where his own wife coined the phrase, just say no.
Well, let me ask you this then. What program is he supposed to start in the inner city? Let's see. He's already got the school board education. Doesn't he work on that? What is the support is that giving the kids? If that's not working, that's the education that everybody's getting, right?
I understand what you're saying, but you're clearly misunderstanding what my point is, because he's not going to Sandy Hook and giving them directives as to what needs to happen there. Okay? He's addressing it because it's a national story. And it's going to be good TV and it's going to be good press. And everybody's going to be happy. Everybody's sad all over the country. Oh, these babies got killed. Oh, these people's going to the movies. How could you disrupt that? And so the cameras are there. And everybody sees that.
You know what?
Nobody sees the faceless kid in Chicago get shot.
You know who your argument should be with then? Not at the president, because the president doesn't hear about each individual shooting. He wouldn't have heard about Sandy Hook. Your argument should be with the media. That's what your argument should be with. Don't blame it on the president, because if the media doesn't address it, he'll never hear about it.
Well, he's
the president.
He's going to hear about it.
No, he's not. If I got shot right now, he won't know about it. Well, he would not know about it.
But you're an individual.
But I'm an individual. So those individuals and shootings that take place in Chicago, the media needs to address that.
But I understand that.
The media needs to bring it to his attention. That's what happened. Hold on, Marcus. Hold on. You just said it yourself.
I understand what you're saying.
Sandy Hook.
Right.
Aurora.
Right.
Everything made media attention.
Right.
If the Chicago's deaths don't meet media attention, how is he going to hear about it?
Well, obviously they don't media attention when they don't have Steppin. Marcus J talked about it almost every week.
But are you recognizing every death? Are you recognizing? Hey,
it's not about the individual deaths, Carl.
That's what it is. That's what you keep bringing about.
No.
Bringing it back to.
You bring it about.
But that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what I want him to address. That's not what I'm saying. You are not listening.
He's not going to be able to address everyone.
No, you are not listening, because I have said that it's a cumulative issue about urban violence and gun violence, and the fact that these babies got killed in Sandy Hook by guns. Now all of a sudden gun violence is this hot button, to me is disingenuous when it's been going on cumulatively all over the country, particularly in his hometown.
Okay, so what's going on in Texas right now? What's happening here in Richmond right now? What's happening in California right now?
Cumulatively.
Okay, I'm still speaking cumulatively. How many people got shot on the first day of the year?
I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so don't ask me.
The media is not bringing it to his attention.
But we're
not the media here in Chicago.
But the media has put in his lap 500 murders in 2012 in Chicago.
Did they report each one individually?
Doesn't matter.
Did they report each one individually?
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter when you had more murders than you had days of the year?
In order for a company, let's put it to a business standpoint. In order for a company to recognize and change a problem, they have to address each and every one of those problems. If you just reported it one time, oh, it's a fluke. Let Tony report it. Ooh, wait a minute, hold on. Let Rue report it. Oops, hold on. Let Charisma report it. Oops, hold on. Wait a minute. We need each one of those things reported to him. He's not going to make a change for one individual.
See, again,
cumulative is not going to be the same thing. It's just not being reported to him.
You just made my point, though. If every single person is reporting it, and cumulatively he understands that there's an epidemic, but he'll go and speak in suburbs instead of the inner city. I'm telling you, I am not the only person that feels this way. It, to me, is disingenuous when there is no words on a national scale. Okay, he went and spoke to the people at that network during the election cycle. You showed me that article. You were right. You showed me where he did speak on it. But on a national scale, where everybody can see it, where now we understand that it is something that he views as important, just as important as the babies in the inner city or the moviegoers in the suburbs, and the moviegoers and the babies in the suburbs. The people, not just in Chicago, but in Little Rock, in Denver, in Boise, in St. Louis, in Newark, all over the country. It's not about the individuals, Carlton, and that's the point that I'm trying to get you to understand.
You're saying you're bringing all of them into one.
Cumulatively, that's
bringing them all into one.
The issue of urban violence.
It's not just urban. People get killed in Hanover. People get killed in McKinney.
But if you're talking about gun violence happens everywhere. Yes, it does. It does. But you are not acknowledging the people who supported you, and a lot of those people are in the inner cities. Big Rule, get in here.
All right. Let's calm this down a little bit. I'm going to start at the first. Well, first of all, the dude who spoke on it at the beginning was in the wrong. Just because
the dude who spoke on it,
what are you talking about?
Representative,
the congressman,
the
two-party guy.
The first person who spoke of it was completely in the wrong. He shouldn't have spoke on it. He just did that to get himself out there and bring attention to it. Now, number two, I was living in Richmond during the time where we were the murder capital of the world. We ain't getting no president coming to visit us. Now, I say that to say this.
Amen.
I say this. My whole point with all of this, if the president wanted to go, great. If he didn't want to go, great. I personally don't have an issue either way. Now, I understand why he went to Aurora, Colorado. I understand why he went to Sandy Hook. He went there simply because there was a mass murder, and that's what it is. Anything more than like 5 people is a mass murder. It is what it is.
So there's a drive-by in the hood. That's a mass murder.
Hold on for a second.
Based on your definition.
Hold on for a second, please. Thank you. Number 2, my statement has always, where I land is always, I personally feel like Chicago has done nothing to help themselves.
Thank you.
I am personally, my thing is, when Richmond was the murder capital of the world, we ain't getting nobody to come help us. We had to do it ourselves. Now, the person who we really should be talking to is the mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois. They need to put forth the effort to attempt to stop this. Now, once they attempt to stop, they realize they can't. At that point in time, you go to the President of the United States. President, we need $5-6 million so we can hire the people so we can knock this out. And I'm completely cool with that. And the president's like, all right, here's your $5 million. We'll get it out of whatever fund over here, the emergency fund, yada, yada. Go take care of that. Now, I do see, Marcus, where you're coming from, how you feel like the President of the United States should mention that, hey, Chicago, y'all keep killing everybody. Y'all probably shouldn't be doing that. I completely understand that. I understand your point, Banks, that the president can't be everywhere at once. Now, my personal belief on this is, one, I do think there comes a time where the president needs to make a trip out there and have a meeting with the mayor and the governor of Illinois and be like, what the F is going on? We have over 500 people killed here. We have multiple people dying every week. Well, I mean, are y'all doing anything? Do I need to bring the National Guard here to shut people down? I mean, what do you need? Now, I believe that should happen. I don't know if it has happened. If it hasn't happened, it should happen. Because over 500 people dying in a year in one city is stupid. That is mass murder. That is quote unquote epidemic, But when it's all said and done, the biggest issue is I personally feel like Chicago isn't trying to help themselves. And my whole point of the whole thing is if you can't do it, then you get help. I understand, hey, we ain't got the resources. You barely got the resources to pay teachers. I mean, we had the whole issue with teachers last year that I was vehemently against teachers, sitting out. I thought that was the most worst thing ever. Then you got 350,000 kids out in the world, hey, let's just get in this drug, get shot some more.
All right, I want to go ahead and wrap up the segment. I'm gonna just say this because the two of you are making it about Chicago. I made it about Chicago 6 months ago, but it ain't about. And
I made it about Chicago with you.
And it's not about Chicago for me anymore. I'm gonna just say this, and I'm gonna give Tony the final word on the subject, and then we're gonna move on. The thing is, when we say that Chicago hasn't done anything for themselves, Chicago had a murder rate of nearly 900 just a decade ago, and it was 500 last year. Okay, so on one hand, you would say, wow, they made strides. They cut it nearly half. But it's still 500. At
Correct.
What point do you say that whatever they're doing ain't working and they might need a little bit of federal intervention? That's if you're making it about Chicago. But I'm not making it about Chicago. 6 months ago, it was about Chicago. For me, it's more of a cumulative thing. Tony, take the final word on the subject.
I totally agree that each state should try to do what they can on its own, but we are these united states, so you can't just say, oh well, they're messed up, so let them be. We're all a part of the same country, and the whole urban violence that is something that's not just Chicago specific, and it does need to be addressed. And I do think that of course the president is aware. He's well aware of the issue. Could there be more done on his part? Possibly, but again, you have to see, you got to try to do what you can with the resources you have first. And the question is, what is Chicago doing with what they have?
Ain't no half Steppin, Marcus J. We're going to leave it there. Went way over, but it was good stuff. I want to thank Carlton Banks, Big Ruben, Tony for their passion in that segment. Going to take our final break of the night. When we come back, we got our rants and we got our closings. You don't want to miss it. Marcus J and I have Steppin. Be back in a minute.
What up, y'all? This is A. Riddick in the 757. Every Monday, 7 to 9, y'all need to be listening to Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. They killing it. Peace.